Well, today we have a very simple objective, very simple. We're trying to devise a vision, an agenda, a research agenda that for a research project that we are going to write for the second phase. The workshop is loosely based, it is based on the design by consensus method that's developed by the Glasshouse.
Design by Consensus is a stakeholder visioning workshop that brings together a number of different stakeholders to develop a space or place, to create a vision for a space or place. So it's very much built environment focused. But the notion is still the same of creating a neutral space where different stakeholders can come together and share their ideas and aspirations and negotiate.
There were some tensions, not conflicts, but some tensions.
I like that about the role play. I know we didn't stick to the role play, but what I liked about it when I was looking at my character was the fact that it sort of said, what do I want out of this?
We set goals that are relevant for the, immediately relevant for community partners who are here, that are immediately actionable, as well as having these higher level kind of understandings of where we might be struggling to get to.
How can design build capacity and extend reach in a way that can help the organizations and people that support?
In terms of co-design for people with disabilities, they're getting the wrong stuff, that's an issue, and we're talking about dealing with that issue. But it would also be interesting to talk about, is there a way that the businesses could be set up within that community so that they can gradually begin to take control of it, but also get the money that comes out of that. But that's what I'm talking about, that's the additional dimension that is not done, and that's where I'm interested, basically. Is it possible? Could we do that?
There are ways of going in and enabling people to come together to discuss things that are valuable on their own terms. And generate things that are not really enterprising in a commercial sense, but are quite enterprising in a, oh, we didn't do this before and now we are. Does scaling up mean, doing more or funding it better, or, those sorts of questions?
Yes.
A lot of what we do with our work is actually mostly building people's confidence. That they have something to contribute to a collaborative process.
That part of the discussion, the scaling up is related with what is the added value when you bring together partners like...
Scaling up in the sense of improving the way that universities and third sector organisations collaborate in relation to co-design kind of stuff.
Exactly, yes. But then the discussion was also now on the table, which scaling up has to do with bringing an output to the communities and to the organizations that are much more, that you couldn't do that before. I'm undecided on whether I want to have a focus on what Sophia is saying, on exactly the problem of how we bring together and scale up our collaboration using existing assets and using existing resources in order to do something more, or it's about the transformative action of the process to people, or it is about the outcome.
I was going to say that I've just synthesised those because it doesn't seem that we have to make a choice necessarily. We're involved in a transformative engagement by coming together. We have two questions then about what's the sort of added value from having more partners and how do we work together, but also how does that improve the resilience of achieving more with less for each group, so that these can't be separated, because we're
Testing this with us.
Yes, but we can't, because in a sense there will be an event, there will be a knock-on emergent event for having been part of this that will be that, and that's the social experiment that we're performing by coming together. So I actually think that the three are not, we can all focus on different aspects, but they're not, you can't take them apart.
I tackle the resilience and do stuff that enables the organisations that are in the room to be more resilient.
two meanings. The one is related with your organization, how you can do this job that you do with the current assets that you have, and the other is how you extend the reach of the particular group that you are targeting, and how you can reach more of those in the country.
One of the things you did mention there was another view of scaling up, which is about drawing in other actors. So you're
Like
talking about
manufacturing.
the manufacturers
I was to
and
mention
states.
that,
So
yes,
yeah,
that's
So-
really interesting.
Scaling up seems for me, from what I'm hearing, to go in two directions. One is, sort of almost like how are we scaling this out? And that's a process question. But the other one is then how are the individual groups who are represented here supporting their organisation through being here? Because I think everybody who came has a question about how do we make this more meaningful for ourselves and the people we're representing. So there's sort of, and academics can kind of go hang on that one really, because that's our responsibility to be giving something back, given that we are allowed to talk about process.
What I'd like to see, that we come up with something that enables us to engage with these different, and the different methods we can use to do that, and reach out to other groups as a result of that. I'm focusing on disabled people, but there are equally other groups that we know of that we find it difficult to get involved in the process. How do we do that?
so that's another understanding of scaling up.
Yeah.
Trying to work with people who are not traditionally reached through these practices, but also then to put them in charge of spreading that. And that's a thing I find interesting about a lot of the conversation around the table, is it's about finding those people who aren't traditionally involved, and then they become the ambassadors and the practitioners. Just thinking what's really interesting at an organisational level, we are really looking at very hard how can we scale up the reach of our work when we have a very small, very threatened team. How can we ensure that no matter what happens to us as an organisation in this very threatening environment, our practice, and not just our practice as an organisation, but all of the knowledge we've accumulated through the collaboration and support to all of the communities we've worked with over the years, how can we get that out there and not have it vested in this small group of people? So for us, scaling up is also about spreading practice and spreading legacy and knowledge. In my mind every day is that how do I make sure all of our practice is spread out?
It's in my mind as well. This thing that we're putting up, who the hell's going to maintain it if we hit the wall? And it kind of scares me sometimes.
Yeah.
We'll put something there and we'll bring it on here next year.
If you look at these three organisations, we get people together and we help them think about how they want to transform something. We also get them together to learn from each other, and so Melissa organises these tours where people go and visit and learn from the experiences of others. Bespoken brings together, from people from 100 different countries.
Wow.
So that is a community of interest actually trying to influence a bigger picture than their lives, but also a concrete difference to their lives. The experiences of building those groups of people who are developing skills for their own lives, but they are as well contributing to a collection of activity and knowledge, and so it's a kind of two-pronged. One is contributing to a quite a sort of immediate, small scale or large scale, but in an immediate problem. The other is contributing to a practice or a knowledge bank, which is not necessarily co-design, but it's bringing people together in a co-design way for that general knowledge bank. I don't know if I've said that at all well, but
We at Blackwood Foundation, we want to sort of build up our capacity to really reach out to some of the hardest to reach groups. And similarly, Silent Cities are working to involve some of the hardest to reach groups. And what you were talking about, sort of the kids in London, that's about involving very hard to reach groups in co-design. So that's one sort of set of challenges, and I mean I'm sure you have the same issues come out in the kind of community work too. Whose capacity and what capacities are going to be built? So here we're actually talking about, okay, there's building capacities in the organisations that are sitting around the table, and then there's also building capacity, doing work that builds capacity with the organisations that they work with.
So can I just add in, spreading this practice is a way to help those we work with be more sustainable, resilient, and resilient.
Yeah.
It's not just about us
yes.
and
Okay.
our communities.
Okay.
Yes, it's that one. So, I mean, your project is a nice example of you are giving people a set of skills that you're training them to do, but then you are creating a group of people that you can outsource, and both you and those people can gain some income from, if I understood it correctly.
Exactly.
So that...
But there's issues around business modelling. We've got exactly the
Yeah.
same problems when we do this work.
Yeah.
I can do it a couple of times, and then I just keel over, and I can't see any way to
Exactly.
monetise
No,
it.
I can't. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that is a very key problem that two of us are facing.
Yeah.
Well, the Melissa's project, where you have communities that make a tour for other communities.
They invite people in
yeah.
to learn from their experience.
This is one thing. This is a very specific way of how you spread the practice, basically. And the bespoken is a completely different thing. It's a digital, first of all. It's not a face-to-face.
Yeah.
And then it's a very, it's a crowdsourcing thing. And then what you are doing, as far as I understand, is that it's more, you have the media and the filming and the video as a tool to enable the voices to be heard. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, in a sense, I can see three different ways of spreading the practice.
And actually, at operational level, this becomes very important to achieving those.
One is how to co-design in a way that's transformative, engage people, use them as ambassadors to spread the practice. And that's another question. How do we enable organizations like yourselves to be sustainable and resilient?
We identify that there are three basically directions that we are talking about. Is the spreading the practice of co-design, cascading, enabled to be sustainable and resilient. It was the main discussion that we have from Sophie, and reaching and involving.
But at a much more specific level, like just intersections between maybe like working with older people to get more skills, or you know what I mean, like taking it down back to practice as well as time.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So
that
scoping.
people actually have a point where they meet in what they're trying to achieve and can do it in a practical way at practice level.